Hey guys, so I was on my morning walk this morning and I found this pressure washer at the side of the road. It's powered by a Honda GCV 160 engine. It's a Troy-Bilt pressure washer, 2500 PSI, 2.3 maximum gallons per minute. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even try to tug on the rope starter. Let's see if we can clean off the model number sticker. It is a model 020344. Let's see if there's oil in it. Probably a good first step, right? There is oil. Doesn't look tragic. Let's see if it has compression. I mean, this is a Honda motor. It's probably going to run. Judging by experience alone with these things, I'm guessing our problem is in the pump. What people do is they run these things dry and they nuke the pump. Not in Florida, but in other parts of the country, they'll let water freeze and they crack. Engine has good compression, so I'm going to bet that we have a good motor, and our problem is with the pump. Got the machine flipped on its side, and just out of curiosity, I want to see what kind of pump is in here, just in case there is a problem with it and we do have to replace it. Again, I'm not condemning the pump yet, I'm just curious. So this pump is made by Reassembly, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's a pretty good brand name. I've been using them for years. I've used a lot of their commercial grade pumps. This is not a commercial grade pump, obviously, but it's a good brand name nonetheless. This is a model number R as in Robert, M as in Mary, W, 2.2 G24. So just looking at the pump, I don't see any obvious signs of fracture. Quite often they like to crack in this aluminum manifold block at the bottom right down here. They'll crack in here and they'll leak water. That's mostly in freezing climates though. But yeah, so the Briggs & Stratton part number for this pressure washer comes up as a $200 part. I'm going to go look up that AR part number and see what comes back, because I'm guessing it's going to be substantially cheaper. As I suspected, the AR part is quite a bit cheaper. I didn't really even look that hard, and I found it about $60 cheaper than the Briggs & Stratton part. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to assume the pump is bad until we know for sure it is. So I think the next step is to hook a hose up to it, hook some water up to it, and see if it runs, and if so, what are the problems. Now we're missing a hose, we're missing part of the wand, so I have at least one pressure washer in my shed buried somewhere, so I think we're going to check and see if I can fit those hoses to this unit just for testing purposes. So this one has what looks like a 25mm hose adapter on the back side. So your pressure washer hose hooks up here, your garden hose hooks up here. So I need to get an adapter that'll hook this up to my quick connect hoses. And I found this adapter in my bag of tricks. So on one side you have a 22mm pressure washer hose fitting. On the other side you have a quick disconnect. So this just screws on here, and then you can use those fancier pressure washer hoses. I mean, am I missing something, or does this thing look almost brand new? I mean, the tags are still on the motor. I don't get this. Is there a date on here? It says the engine meets 2007 emission standards, but I mean, there's no corrosion, there's nothing, it's just dirty. It could be as simple as, hey, you know what, maybe someone put gas in it, left it, and never used it again? This could be a really boring video. Okay, so like I was saying before I started blabbering on, the next step is really to just do a test. So I'm going to hook my pressure washer hose that I'm sure I have stashed in my shed somewhere up to this thing with one of my wands. We're going to start it. We're going to try to start it and see if it starts. And then we'll troubleshoot the problem. We're not just going to replace parts, but you have to run water through these things when you're running them. That's the kiss of death. You run these things dry, you'll nuke the pump in no time. So that's the next step. Okay, I got the machine hooked up to my pressure washer hose from one of my other pressure washers and a garden hose. I don't see any water leaking out of the pump, which is a good sign. So at least there's no cracks in the pump that are big enough to allow it to flow out under garden hose pressure. So let's give it the cord a tug and see what happens. Maybe that's our problem. That's my mic. So it's on. choke is on. And we do have gas. I checked that already. It smells old. Yep, there's gas in there. So I could do this till I'm blue in the face. I think we know what the problem is. I think we have a carburation issue. No signs of life whatsoever. Let me get a can of liquid fire and spray that in the carb just to confirm the motor is good. Got the liquid fire. Get the air cleaner housing off. Man, this thing looks brand new. Spray a little bit of that in there. Let's see what happens. That's a good sign. All right, so the motor is good. The motor runs. Now I think we just have a carburation issue. I looked down below while I had it running briefly. I think you saw that. I was looking for any obvious water gushing from the pump head, because that could indicate a crack that only presents itself when there's a lot of pressure there. So next step is to get the carb off and clean that out, and hopefully we have a good pressure washer at that point. Okay, first step is to get the carb off. You'll have to forgive me, I don't work on these residential Hondas too often, so if I do something in the wrong order, or just bear with me. I have the fuel shut off here so we don't get drenched with gas. These are just a couple of 10mm screws. Any more? It looks like just those three. Carburetor feels loose. About 65 miles long. 1, 2. So this should be free now. Should being the operative word. There we go. And there's a vent tube behind there that just pops off, and I think our carburetor will be free now, right? Can you guys see? Let me get you focused a little bit better. Hopefully that's better for you guys. So we have our choke linkage set up right here. What's holding the carb on? Maybe just the gasket? Yep, it was the gasket. So just move this plate out of the way, maybe. The linkages look pretty straightforward. The throttle linkage only has one hole in there, so not too many other places for that to go. I think the choke linkage is pretty self-explanatory. So what's going on here? Why can't I rotate this out of the way? Maybe the fuel line. And again, I have the fuel shut off so we don't get drenched with gas. Get a pair of pliers. I'm just gonna try to work that fuel line off. Come on. Oh man, this gas smells horrible. You know what, let's take this other bolt off. It might be easier that way. You guys are probably shouting at me in the video, take the other bolt off, you dummy. There we go. Wow, a lot easier. So we probably can get our linkages off now. Maybe not yet. Man, what a pain. Get that grommet. There we go. That should help. There we go. Now we're making some progress. Now we're cooking with fire. And there's a fuel line clamp, which is probably why the line wasn't slipping off. These are a pain in the neck. But usually you just got to slip them over that extrusion on the nipple. Yes, I said that out loud. If you get stuck on one thing, move on to another for a minute. Actually, so there are two holes on the end of the throttle. It looks like the throttle shaft itself goes on the bigger of the two holes. One looks slightly bigger than the other. So glad Honda puts fuel shutoff valves in these things. Jeez, fuel line's on there pretty good. Get a different set of pliers. Okay. Yeah, she's coming now. There we go. Got the fuel line off and clamped. Okay, no residual gases coming out. All right, so our carburetor is now free. That's what it looks like. Not much to it. So you guys know the drill. This thing's going in the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's see how nasty the sump is, the bowl. Gotta be careful, don't want to break anything. Especially that bowl seal. Sometimes they can get, ooh, smell that. Oh, geez, gross. You guys aren't seeing this. She's a little gross. Smells horrible, my goodness. Well, pretty sure that's our problem. You guys know the drill by now. I got the ultrasonic cleaner heating up. That's what the inside of the bowl looks like, pretty nasty. That's what the tummy of the carb looks like. Let's just disassemble it a little bit, if it wants to be disassembled. Might be too stuck. I don't want to separate too much here because I don't want to buy a gasket kit for it. So it probably doesn't need one. I'm just going to kind of leave things together as best I can. You know what? Let's throw it in like that, and then we'll take, hopefully ultrasonic cleaning will loosen some of this stuff up, and then we'll give it another bath. Let me see if I can take the jet out, or if that's too stuck too. Is this the right size? Nope, too big. Where's my other cabinet screwdriver? I know I had two of these. Oh, there it is. Ooh, she's crusty. Man, I can't even feel where the screwdriver is supposed to go. It's too gross. All right, let's just let it percolate in the ultrasonic cleaner for a while. This should be interesting. Okay, see you in 15 minutes. It smells so bad from that fuel, I had to open the door and turn the fan on. That's after about maybe 10 minutes. Starting to look much better. Let it keep running. So after about an hour or so, things are looking pretty clean now. The needle and seat, or I guess this pin that I was struggling to get out before, almost falled right out. or fell right out rather. So yeah, things came apart nicely. This jet is also loosening up. I'm unscrewing that. So I'm assuming that's a combination of the heat and just the fact that there's less crud in here. There's still quite a bit of crud in here though. I can see it on the screwdriver. This carburetor's heavy. I got the jet out. It's still a little crusty. Let's see if the emulsion tube wants to come out. Not really. Can I push it out? I can. I just stuck a pick down through the throat of the carburetor. So it's not super disgusting, but yeah, maybe it is. There's crap coming off of my fingers. So I guess we got to go a couple more rounds in this thing. So I did another round in the ultrasonic cleaner. This time, instead of using simple green and water, I used actual carb cleaner. So just to save materials, I put everything in this little Pyrex jug, and you can see how cloudy it got. This thing was pretty nasty, one of the worst I've seen. The emulsion tube cleaned up really nicely. The jet is still kind of dark. I don't know. Might run this through a bit more. Let me see if I can see light through it. I can. It's a good sign. Maybe this is just how it is. I don't want to do this job twice. I'll give it a little bit more time in the ultrasonic, but I think everything else is fine. And so begins the reassembly. I didn't do it on camera, but I did take out that screw. I believe that's where the pilot jet is for the carb. So let's put the emulsion tube back in, make sure you put it the right way. We'll put our main jet in. It looks dirtier than it is, believe me. Okay, it's in there securely. Now let's put our needle and seat assembly. Now one thing that some people do is they take a Q-tip and they'll polish up that bore in the carb where the needle goes. And I think that's a very clever idea, but this is actually looking pretty clean. I don't think we need to do this one. So I'm going to skip this. It's amazing the miracles that an ultrasonic cleaner can work. Come on. Ah, man. There we go. Got it that time. I'll put the shaft through. Free movement. Cool. I think our carb is done. We have our 10mm bowl nut. So now in theory, this motor should run. Excuse me. Let's angle this out a little bit. So our choke is on this side. So yeah, we don't want this drain right here, aiming this way, because then it would drain towards the motor. So we want to probably angle it just about like that, because our air cleaner is going to be over here. Let's put it back on the motor. Okay, let's get our linkage on first. So I'm doing the throttle linkage now. Probably should have done the spring first, it would have been easier. Come on. There we go. So there's our spring. And this spring, all it does is prevent hunting, surging. It reduces bounce in the throttle. Come on. Of course, now the choke linkage doesn't want to fit. What's going on here? Okay, got it. Just had to fight with it for a minute. Let's get our fuel line on. Walk our fuel line clamp over. There we go. And I think we can put, oh, we gotta put this on first. So that should be like that. And it gets mounted to the motor like that. And this gets mounted. Kind of a pain in the neck. I suppose if you know what you're doing, it's not so bad though. There, I think that'll do it. So let's get this short bolt here. Make sure you get your choke on right. You want the choke to actuate when you pull out like that. And this goes on like so. This hose has to come up here like that, breather hose. It's got to come right through there. 12 hands to do this job. Okay, let's get these screws started. Make sure you don't lose your gaskets. If you do, make sure you find them. Man, you really do need 75 hands to do this. Okay, I got one screw started. There. Whew. This one goes in here. Get the carburetor rotated, make sure you don't drop your gaskets. Yep, I think we got them all. This guy has to wrap up in here. There we go. Home stretch, guys. Okay, I think we're just about ready to test this bad boy. Put the last screw here. Just gotta put fresh gas in it and see if it lights up. I'm guessing it will. I don't know what you guys think. Put our air cleaner in. Done. Okay, let's try that again. Take two. The astute viewers probably noticed I left a bolt loose. I have the ratchet out here. I took care of that. Let's see what happens. Got the gun over here. I got the water on. I put fresh gas in it. Let's do choke on. Let's see what happens. Be choke. Oh, choke on. There we go. Okay, I let the machine run for about 10 minutes. I used it to pressure wash a little bit of fascia. I cleaned the machine itself. It runs great. I don't see any leaks in the pump, no problems with the pump, so all my fears from earlier were for naught. Pump is fine. Don't need to do anything to it, except maybe look at the oil, but honestly, this thing doesn't look like it has a lot of hours on it. Cleaned up really nice, not a spot of rust, so I guess the next step is to get a hose for it and a replacement wand extension. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe and stay safe, everybody. Thanks for watching.